Are you envious of people with exceptional memories? You know, the kind who have encyclopedic knowledge, while you struggle to remember the name of the person you were introduced to seconds ago? Hi viewers, and welcome back to another Bestie video. In today's fast-paced and ever-changing world, we're learning new things every day. Whether it's how to play the guitar, master a new technology, raise a child, or try a new recipe, the mind is always soaking up new information. Being a quick learner can give you an even greater edge. And in today's video, we'll tell you the best techniques to help you memorize things faster. From coordinating smells, chewing gum, memory palace, the chunking technique to using the power of melody, and more. Watch until the end to find out all of them. Number 1, coordinate smells. Smells have been proven to trigger memories better than sound, but direct application can be quite tricky. One idea is to coordinate smells when you're memorizing something to when it needs to be remembered. For example, try spraying perfume of a very particular odor on the back of your hand when you're eating, and then again the same day of your test or speech or presentation. Has it ever happened to you that a familiar smell has evoked an old memory? What was the smell? Tell us about your experience in the comment section below. Number 2, relate new things to what you already know. A great brain-based technique for memory retention is to relate new information to what you already know. For example, if you're learning about Romeo and Juliet, you might associate what you learn about the play with prior knowledge you have about Shakespeare, the historical period in which the author lived, and other relevant information. This will make retaining the new information about the topic easier. Number 3, the sleep sandwich. Imagine you have an important presentation and only a day to prepare. How do you learn a lot of information in the least amount of time? Most people try cramming. They'll pull an all-nighter if they have to. But despite all their hard work, they end up forgetting about 50% of the stuff they wanted to remember. This is because you can expose your brain to countless new stimuli, but it only retains a small percentage of them, as you need time to store information in your memory. During late-night cram sessions, you aren't giving your brain the chance to encode all that stuff you need to remember. You should study, sleep, then study some more. The sleep sandwich is an excellent way to learn faster because sleep helps you retain more information. In fact, storing memories is one of the most important functions of a good night's rest. While your conscious goes to bed, your conscious is actively storing all kinds of stuff in your long-term memory. But when you pull an all-nighter, you're preventing your brain from actually learning and retaining those memories. Not to mention, tiredness leaves your brain foggy, slow, and unproductive. Number 4, chew gum. There are 2 theories in place for why this is. One is that chewing leads to increased blood flow to the area, which enables more brain activity. The other is simpler. Chewing gum becomes associated with a particular memory, and it gets easier to access it if you're chewing gum while recalling. Regardless of which one you believe, it might be a good idea to pick up a pack of gum before your next big exam. And just in case the taste has the same effect as smell, stick with the same flavor for the test as you were when you were studying. Number 5, teach someone else or just pretend to. According to a study, if you imagine that you'll need to teach someone else the material or a task that you're trying to grasp, you can speed up your learning and remember more. The expectation changes your mindset so that you engage in more effective approaches to learning than those who simply are learning to pass a test. When teachers prepare to teach, they tend to seek out key points and organize information in a coherent structure. Students can also turn to this effective learning strategy when studying. Number 6, memory palace. The fundamental concept of this technique is to associate pieces of information that you wish to remember with parts of a location that you are very familiar with, for example, your home. Begin by visualizing yourself walking through your home and remembering every single detail that you can. You can physically walk as well. In fact, the idea of memory palace is to make us use all of our senses, like auditory and touch. Now, associate each item that you wish to remember with a specific object or space in your home. For example, if you're trying to remember a new language, you might want to store all the words related to weather in your wardrobe. Associating items within the mind with a real physical space helps the brain file more important things to remember more easily. Memory palaces can be used to remember names, faces, languages, lists, academic material, and pretty much anything under the sun. Number 7, Take notes by hand. While it's faster to take notes on a laptop, using a pen and paper will help you learn and comprehend better. Researchers found that when students took notes by hand, they listened more actively and were able to identify important concepts. Taking digital notes can lead to mindless transcription, as well as an opportunity for distraction, such as email. In fact, it was found that students who took notes on laptops performed worse on conceptual questions than those students who took notes longhand. While taking more notes can be beneficial, laptop note-takers' tendency to transcribe lectures verbatim rather than processing information and reframing it in their own words is detrimental to learning. Number 8. Use the power of mental spacing. While it sounds counterintuitive, you can learn faster when you practice distributed learning or spacing. Think of learning as watering a lawn. You can water a lawn once a week for 90 minutes or 3 times a week for 30 minutes. Spacing the water out during the week will keep the lawn greener over time. To retain material, it's best to review the information 1 to 2 days after first studying it. One theory is that the brain actually pays less attention during short learning intervals. So repeating the information over a longer interval, say a few days or a week later, rather than rapid succession, sends a stronger signal to the brain that it needs to retain the information. Number 9. Learn information in multiple ways. When you use multiple ways to learn something, you'll use more regions of the brain to store data about that subject. This makes the information more interconnected and embedded in your brain. It basically creates a redundancy of knowledge within your mind, helping you truly learn the information and not just memorize it. You can do this by using different media to stimulate different parts of the brain, such as reading notes, reading the textbook, watching a video, and listening to a podcast or audio file on the topic. The more resources you use, the faster you'll learn. Number 10. Try the chunking technique. Chunking can make large amounts of information more memorable. You probably use it already to remember or share a phone number. Chances are you chunk the numbers so they're easy to remember. 888, 555, 000, rather than the more memory-intensive 888, 555, 000. Research suggests that on average, the human brain can hold 4 different items in its short-term memory. But by grouping information into smaller sets, we can hack the limits of our working memory to remember more. This technique involves grouping items, finding patterns in them, and organizing the items. You might group items on a grocery list by aisle, for example, or look for connections between events in a historical period to create chunks of them, such as moments in the 1920s that involved the US Constitution. To put this into practice yourself, you could group vocabulary words for a new language you're learning by topic. Organize items in a list by the first letter, or by the number of letters they have, or associate items with the larger whole they might be involved in. Number 11. Use the power of melody. It's almost mysterious how much easier it is to remember lyrics than recite the words of a tuneless essay. And it's not something that we're just imagining either. Studies have proven the efficacy of melody when it comes to learning. While it might seem like a ton of extra work, you can simply piggyback off melodies you already know and love. Perhaps the best are famous classics because they don't have lyrics that could perhaps be distracting when trying to memorize. Just make sure you don't burst into song when you're remembering. Apart from helping you remember things, music can have a powerful impact on your mental and emotional well-being. To find out how, watch this video titled The Mental and Emotional Effects of Music. Now back to techniques to learn anything faster. Number 12. Clench your right hand when learning, then your left hand to remember. As weird as it might seem, a study actually proved this effective in improving short-term memory. When you're learning, simply clench your right hand into a fist, and then later on, when you have a need to remember, squeeze your left hand. However, this is only proven to be effective in right-handed individuals. Though they did the same test for left-handed individuals, those results are reserved for a different study. Or simply try it yourself and see if you experience any significant difference. Are you a fast learner, or do you take your own sweet time to remember things? Have you ever tried any of these memory techniques? Let us know in the comments section below. Enjoyed this video? Hit like, share, and subscribe to Bestie. Wait! What kind of bestie would we be if we didn't tell you about our other awesome videos? Go ahead, choose the left or right video and enjoy.